You are live with King Sigma, and today is the 24th of October, 2021, and we will be revisiting the protection deflection. Back in February of 2021, I hosted a stream called the Protection Deflection, but as many know at this point, a new story that's going viral is of one of the influencers in the Black female level up community by the name of April Mason. Now, typically, this isn't the kind of story that really would catch my attention, but I remembered April Mason from back in 2019 when I was doing panels with different brothers throughout YouTube. And I remember a particular panel where we were talking about this whole idea of protecting the random Black woman. And I kind of noticed something since that time. So it's been just about 2 years since those panels that were based on April Mason going viral at the time. So for those that may not have been aware, April Mason went viral back in between the period of late November 2019 and early December 2019. She had gone viral because one of her cousins had filed a false police report against random Black men in Atlanta, saying that she had been kidnapped, and the implication was that she had been kidnapped and raped. Well, not too long after that, that viral video of hers where she was attacking, just all Black men, Black men don't protect, Black men are preying on these Black women. You know this narrative that's been pushed for the last 30 years that so many Black men have taken to social media to push back against over the last few years, last decade. And so she jumped right on it. So I remember that video because I remember all the panels and how long we talked about it and how it was just, evidence that whenever something goes wrong for these ABW, they will just somehow draft and conscript random Black men into their fuckery. So because of this false report that her cousin put out, the Black men in Atlanta were at high risk. Now, since it's 2 years later, we may have forgotten what was going on at that time. Remember, that was during the time where all American men were under distress because any man going up to talking to a woman was considered some kind of misogynist, some kind of predator. At this time, there were a lot of false rape, false kidnapping hoaxes going on. And I remember a particular situation that took place in New York. So there was, at that same time that April Mason's cousins had filed her false report in Atlanta, another woman, but she was a teenager, had filed a false report up in New York. And she had said that she had been kidnapped. Well, later they found out that it was staged and that the whole thing was something that her and a man that she knew put together, I guess, to do some kind of GoFundMe for clout, online popularity. But eventually the New York Police Department found out that she made up the whole story and that it was staged so that she could go viral. But the reason that it's important that we have these discussions is because this narrative has been pushed for centuries at this point. And I think that a lot of Black men are fed up with it and they've been responding and calling out. But the April Mason situation is interesting to me because she shows not only these different phases within the Black social media the last 2 years, but she also shows how this narrative that Black men are the problem for these Black women is very false. Because April Mason went from being a Black male basher and attacking Black men over false rape, kidnapping hoaxes. And then when she got backlash from Black men throughout America, her response wasn't to say, hey, I was wrong, I apologize. Actually, at that time, she doubled down. Now, I have to be fair. I don't know what's happened with the woman since then. This is my first time hearing about April Mason since December 2019. So her name is all over these YouTube streets now. And I just said, where did I remember that woman from? And I said, okay, let me go. This is the woman who was part of that whole fake, false kidnapping rape hoax. So she was really angry at Black men at that time because Black men were saying that Why should anyone protect women that lie on them, that side with the so-called white supremacist dominant society, that put out all this negative propaganda against them? So her response, unless I missed it, if someone in the chat knows, did she at that time? But I remember her going and responding with anger towards black men, and then talking about things in her own family history that black men had done to her. And because black men in her own family had done things to her, the other, 20 million black men in America were responsible for what her father did, what the men, uncles, or whatever men she was talking about at that time did to her. The other 20 million black men that don't know her, that don't know her family, were responsible. So she doubled down as far as I remember. Well, I do know that. So in 2019, she was a black male basher. But in 2020, she made another change. In 2020, she joined forces with Swirl Mountain. So around here what we say that there is no mountain higher than Swirl Mountain. There's no valley too low, no ocean too deep. No climb is met with more adversity than the steep climb of Swirl Mountain. We say that for a reason, because ultimately on this climb to pedestalize white men, it starts from a negative position. We're not talking about people that are just saying like what I say, because I'm all about, hey, love is love. Go get the best deal that you can get out here in the sexual marketplace. That's me. I've always stood on that, and I'm going to continue to stand on that. But I think it's a different position when you say, I'm going to get something that's so much better than the men that I had the responsibility of raising. That's very disturbing to me, because we know that the majority of black boys and black girls are being raised in these matriarchal-led households. So whatever comes out of those households, it falls, for the most part, 70 to 80% of it falls on the shoulders of the black matriarch, because she's responsible. So we know that she went from being a black male basher in 2019. In 2020, she joined the so-called divester level up movement. And she was, working with the Pink Pill, Crystal Cares, and all them in that team. She was getting big props for that. It was very lucrative in 2020 to be on that Swirl Mountain Pink Pill bandwagon. Lots of money in it. So it was kind of surprising when I'm looking through Black YouTube and I'm seeing her name coming up more and more, and I'm like, hold on, what did she do this time? So I thought maybe, because she was part of the Pink Pill community, I thought April Mason had got her a white man, that she had defied all opportunities to get with the black men in her past, but that somehow she had magically climbed Swirl Mountain and found that good white man. That's what I thought when I first saw her name, and I remembered her story, and I remember her teaming up with the Pink Pill Carriage, and I was like, wow, she done went and got her a white man. Nope, that's not what happened. It was the exact opposite. She actually was talking about how she was coaching black women in the level up game, and she found out that what other online gurus like her have found out throughout the past, that you're dealing with a woman that's very delusional. Her reality and expectations does not match what is actually out in the sexual marketplace as a buyer, and does not match what she is actually bringing herself to the sexual marketplace. So it looks like in this just about 2-year period, she went from being a black male basher to a Pink Pill proponent and advocate, to now she's just giving up on the same community. So I gotta bring up something, because I was looking on Lipstick Alley, and I wanted to see, because I remember back then, Lipstick Alley, Twitter, YouTube, when she was out there attacking black men. I know that viral video was shown and she took it down eventually, but a lot of people did see the video. I know that over 20,000 people had seen the video before it was taken out, for sure. I do remember that. It was very close to 20,000 or more at that time, but she took it down once it was discovered that her cousin had told a bold-faced lie. So I went and checked out Lipstick Valley or Lipstick Alley to see what they had to say about April Mason quitting the level up dating coach game. And so I'm gonna bring it up for you all so you can take a look at it yourself. So hopefully you all can see the screen. Let me know if you guys can see the screen. Can you see it? Because I want to kind of read what I saw on Lipstick Alley. So the headline read, April Mason quits her dating business because of entitled sisters with unrealistic expectations. Says men are easier to work with. She's come totally full circle on this. And it definitely brought a lot of questions to my own mind. One specifically is that what are Black men to do in situations like this? Because we know that I was thinking to myself, what if April Mason was white? Or what if she was Hispanic? Or what if she was a Jewish woman? And she had done this carousel that she's done over the last 2 years, going from being a basher of like Jew men, being a basher of Latino men, or if she was a white woman bashing white men. Then she went and joined a movement that actually promoted all other men against the men that are in her designated ethnic or racial group. And then at the end of all that, and we're not talking about a 20-year-old woman who was 20 and then she went through a process and now she's 24 and she's like, wow, I was wrong about everything. We're talking about a woman who is middle age, closer to 50 than 30, right? So she should know better. This is a woman who has children that are probably adult age at this point, So it's something to really think about. Really, what is the standard for Black men? Because I know that from white men that I've met, through university, through work, and that live around me, I just highly doubt that they would come back to me with open arms after the kind of crimes against white men that would be equivalent to what those like April Mason, those like the white male worshipers, those like the Black misandrists do in their journey and in their struggle to accept their own flaws, their own dysfunctions, and their own bad choices. They go out of their way to destroy Black men publicly. So the question would be, what would men of other groups do with the women within their in-group and their designated ethnic group when they go about trying to destroy them in the same manner or even worse than the declared enemy? So we know in the Black YouTube space, there's a lot of talk about white supremacy and the white people oppressing Black people, yada, 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 right? But from what I've seen over the last 2 years, I've seen Black people using these platforms to do more damage to Black people than any white people that I know or that I've seen publicly in the last 2 or 3 years. So that's something that you guys need to think about. But so we're looking at Lipstick Alley. So one of the posters, she posted, April Mason's, Twitter or social media post that led to her going viral this last week on Black YouTube. So, so one of the favorite words of Black women who are truly anti-Black KKK is to call other Black women pick-me's, right? So pick-me is this term applied to any Black woman that advocates or supports Black men. That's basically all it is. So if you're a Black woman and you support your Black son or your Black husband or your Black boyfriend or any Black men that are related to you or any Black men in public, you're called a pick-me. It's a derogatory term for those that just show respect for those that share the same designation as them of a different sex. It's disgusting, really, that term. But this poster says, pick me ass heifer, her dick riding, quote, advice, unquote, is working for everyone except herself. I would love to hear what she considers unrealistic as far as these women's standards and expectations. So this is something that's, this is what we expect as a common post from the Sisterhood of Failure. So apparently April Mason had said, after 10 plus years of helping women in this area, it's time to move on. I have had dozens of success stories from women who are now married, engaged, or dating high caliber men. My track record speaks for itself. However, the majority that come to me have unrealistic expectations, the selfishness, fake everything. That's key right there. She said, fake everything. Think they should be chosen because they have a vagina and good looks, the entitlement, just mean, not knowing the difference between a woman and a wise woman, and will fight you to be strong, not knowing how to be versus do, thinking being a feminine woman is weak or a pick-me, whatever that is. So she even commented on the pick-me thing herself, placing the blame and not taking responsibility or accountability for the choices they made in men. Now that's important because she's saying placing the blame and not taking responsibility or accountability for the choices they made in men. So again, I'll say, I don't know if April Mason ever took accountability or responsibility for her partaking in the bashing of black men in the public eye in a viral video that was part of a mainstream criminal case. So I hope she did, because she's saying that these women don't take accountability and responsibility. So I hope that April Mason, 2 years later, after she did what she did, has taken accountability. So I don't know. You guys might know. If she has, you can let me know in the chat. But she goes on to say, being disagreeable, defensive, argumentative about everything, always finding something to nitpick about, looking for perfection. If you mention anything about doing something kind for the man they chose, it's, what is he going to do for me? And the list goes on. Now, this doesn't excuse men's behavior. A lot of men think because they are high earning, it makes them a high value man. Not. Those who are loyal followers know I get on them hard as well. This post just isn't about them. I have just made my contribution and impact in this area for decades to come. I have over 50 courses that women who may need help in this area can rent or buy. He says, a wise woman knows how to exit on a high note. And then she kind of, stuck the knife in a little bit further when she ended with, working with the men is so much easier and they listen faster. That's because most women don't know how to speak. Man, those of us that do don't have the same issue. Now I'm gonna go back to the chat before I read some of these comments on Lipstick Alley, because I just thought it was funny, So I'm hoping that that she did hold herself accountable for when she joined in on that bashing of black men, because again, that's really when more and more black men were speaking out against the misandry and the anti-black misandry in the United States. And she was one of the main cheerleaders against black men at that time. So it looks like for all that hatred of black men and joining forces with the Swirl Mountain and Pink Pill, it didn't do her any good. So she's back where she started. Because again, and I'll say it over and over, black men that come to these spaces and social media to speak their stories and to comment and critique what they've experienced at a sociological level, their upbringings, their environment, what's going on a political level, what's going on the economics of things. They're not just making this stuff up. Sure, if there was one or two guys that were jilted in the past by some black woman, you could say, oh, that guy's just angry. But no, that's not what's happened. You're talking about 10, 20 years of black men across the 6 living generations saying, this is my experience. And it's gotten worse and worse, coming from the boomers to the Gen Xers to millennials and the zennials. And the truth of what the environment is going to look like in 10 years is already known to those that have been paying attention. So for those that may have not seen, there's a brother by the name of Xanatos Clutch. And he's a proponent of the CISBM lifestyle and a practitioner. He had a video recently called the CISBM Confederacy. So you guys should go watch it. And he takes, the 2020 census and other data on the changing demographics of America and how more and more black men are choosing to date in an interracial way. And this is due to assortative mating and not based on a race or ethnic dating. So these guys are dating women that are within their environment, proximity, and within their class. So he has a good video on that called the CISBM Confederacy, and he shows a heat map of how different states and different regions tend to have a growing population of black men that are dating women of different ethnicities and different cultures. So what I was thinking about when I was reading April's post, like I said, she gave him that little uppercut in the end, put that knife in for the black women who she was caping for all that time. And now she said, you know what, the money's not even worth it, because she's getting paid. I hear a lot of people say that black women, they pay in what they weigh as a common statement about black women. So they're known for paying to be told what they want to hear. And so she must have been so much stressed that she was just like, hey, this money isn't even worth it. The stress isn't worth it. Now I know how black men feel. And I know why black men, so many of them have heart disease and high blood pressure. That's basically what she was saying. Just think about what she said. Working with the men is so much easier and they listen faster. So I got to thinking to myself, all right, We all know that Passport Bros, the SISBM Bros, the Free Choice Brothers, they get a lot of backlash from the pro-tep communists, right? They get a lot of backlash from them. So let me see what you guys are saying in the chat before I move on with that thought. So the brother Willie A3R says, still remember that bull crap with her cousin in Atlanta, city of East Point, making a false police report and blaming black men. Classic Susan Smith moment. Yeah, Willie. See, that's why I said it's important. Hey, what up, Edward? Hurricane Edward. If you want the link, man, let me know, bro. I definitely would like your take on this. Because I always hear about, white women are going to call the police on you and this and that, right? And it made sense to guys that were born in like the GI generation or boomers to think that, or women from that generation. But anyone that's of the Gen X generation, or especially like millennials and zennials, that argument doesn't really hold any water with me. Because again, when you look at domestic violence reports, crimes between black men and black women, it's usually a black woman that's calling the police on a black man. So it's almost like there's two sides of this coin, right? There's the hardcore misandry part, and then there's a soft core. So like the hardcore misandry that they use, and I'm talking about in the physical, when you're in proximity to them, is that I'm going to call that white man on you. So that's like this card that they will hold above black men that are in their proximity's head, is that I'm going to call the police on you. So we remember back in Kenosha, I'm from Wisconsin, I'm from the Kenosha area. And the guy, I forgot his name, that got shot up by the police that led to the riots in Kenosha, in the Kenosha area at that time. So many people left out the fact that that whole pipeline, that domino effect started with a woman calling the police. I believe it was his baby mother. It could have been a sister. I don't remember exactly who she was, but it was someone that was kin to him or he was in a relationship with, that called the police. Turbattle says Jacob Blake. Yeah, Jacob Blake. He got shot up, and I believe he's still permanently paralyzed now. But the call started with a black woman. This is the hardcore misandry. Now, going back to April Mason, the softcore misandry. The softcore misandry is when you have women that are not in proximity to black men, and because they're not in that proximity, they use whatever tools are at their disposal to belittle black men and to harm black men in society and make them even to bigger victims. So they will use things like false hoaxes. Oh, black men kidnapped me. Black men kidnapped me and raped me. Black men raped me. So when I'm always hearing this whole thing about white women, I'm like, wait. The most recent hoaxes that I heard was black women doing it to black men. And I asked myself, how many black men, when they get that hardcore misandry, hey, I'm taking you to child support court. I'm calling the police. I'm calling your probation officer. You better get out of this house within an hour, or I'm calling the police. That's that hardcore misandry they use. But no one ever talks about the softcore misandry that April Mason's cousin and the women like her represent, and those like April Mason who use their platform to join in on the bullying of black men, all to impress and virtue signal to white men that we're available. That's all this is. When you really look at the misandry thing, it's really just virtue signaling to white men that they're available. But so Willie says, April Mason lifted up her wig one day and saw the rampant alopecia, and figured enough was enough. Yeah, I mean, but that brought up, hey, what's up to the Village Arsonist TV? I heard you on Xavier's channel last night and everything. I didn't get a chance to watch that whole video, but I saw the beginning and the topic. From what I heard you saying, you were 100% right on that, bro. And it was funny because I was on a panel with SKC and that same guy was on there, and there's some funny things were said, and I was trying to tell them. So alopecia. So it's okay, alopecia. I don't know anyone with that. So alopecia. All right. Yeah. And you brought up some good points on that panel. So, I see what you're saying. Let me see. Christopher Daly. In 1991, I immigrated to the U.S. as a SISBM from Jamaica, from Jamaican women coming to the Bronx. Much didn't change a year in, so I was SISBM from 1992. I reside in Bergen, Norway. This till I haven't looked back. So I guess he means until this day I haven't looked back. Hey, shout out to the brother that's out there in Norway. Wow, that's big moves, man. And that's pretty much what I'm talking about too, man. There's nothing stopping you from making moves like that anymore. The world is wide open. Everyone else is making moves. Corporations are making moves. And it's time for thinking black men to get their resources in order, to get their mind right and make moves. But yeah, so that whole thing with April Mason, I call that like softcore misandry, because that's really saved for the men that they can't touch. Those are the men that are not in their environment. Those are the men that are not dating them. Those are the men that they see on the street. Those are the men that they seethe with envy when they see in the restaurant with some woman of a different culture. And here's the funny thing. It's not limited to just women that are like white, Asian, or Latina or biracial. Even if they see you with a red bone black woman, they consider that something different. They have some hatred for you and anger towards you then. So I just find this whole thing with April Mason going viral in Black YouTube to be funny, because again, if the argument is that black men have issues, black women have issues, and everyone's saying, okay, well, we're not going to work with these black women on their issues, it's going to be the men. So basically, you're creating like a generation of Chango type black men, Superman black men, but no one wants to deal with the elephant in the room. So if you got this army of thousands and thousands of self-appointed, unregistered, unlicensed, uninsured gurus that have popped up telling black men what they should do and what they shouldn't do, right? So let's take this argument and say black men have done all those things and they become this super Chango man, the super Kunta Kintes of the world, right? Why isn't no one telling us what we're supposed to do with all of that greatness? And I think that's what stands out about April Mason's comment to me, is that she's basically just went and made the biggest argument for Passport Bros and SYSMA. That's what she's done over the last week with that comment, because it raises the question, what are these super Kunta Kintes supposed to do when they get all this high tier, all this high caliber, all this freedom? Go back to the same women that you said you can't hang with, you don't want to handle, you don't want to spend your time with? I mean, you just got to make this make sense to me, brothers. How does it make sense that she's saying that she's going over to these men? So that's still leaving this big pool of black women that black men have been pointing out. Hey, these women aren't wifeable. They're not feminine. They're not attractive. They don't cooperate. They're not loyal. They don't respect us. That's what black men have been saying forever. So let me see what Edward says right here. It needs to be known that Kevin showed there's a large market of men that are willing to pay to date black women. That's part of April motivation. But even if what you say is true, Edward, that they're willing to pay to date those black women, where are these black women? She's leaving that market of black women. She's saying that those same black women that would be the ones getting paid aren't worth the time. So let's take her as an example of a mother figure, right? Let's take April Mason as an example of a mother figure. Let's say she represents the state of the mothers that somewhat get it, right? What percentage does April Mason represent? Because again, remember, she went from basher to pink pill to now saying that she doesn't no longer want to work with these black women as a dating coach or whatever she does, right? So Edward says, now we have April Mason, Rebecca Lynn Pope, Nicole Michelle, and Eva Karazin that have said black women can't be worked with. So again, Edward, I need you to answer the question. So if these women who are supposed to be the caretakers of the children say that they can't work with black women, are they not making the argument that it's time for black men to go spread your seed across the planet? It's time for black men to move around. It's time for black men to 100% embrace freedom. That's the only thing left, bro. Come on. Shout out to Casual Observer. He says, good black men need to provide from outside of the family. I mean, Casual Observer, the only argument that's left is what's next. That's the only thing I could think of, because the brothers that promote free choice and the black men becoming full American citizens and being global citizens, they've been saying this. I was just reading an article recently from Forbes magazine, and they were talking about remote work and how so many companies are now going to remote work. Now, there was a company in particular that I was looking at because I have friends that are accountants called PricewaterhouseCoopers, right? They're one of these large, accounting, finance type corporations. They just announced that of their employees that they're going to be deploying 40,000 of their employees to full-time remote work for the foreseeable future. That's a huge thing. That's huge. for black men in this day and age that may have the skills of IT, finance, accounting, or economics background, or law. So if you're in those 5 areas right now and you're looking to make that kind of move to see the world while being employed with a top corporation, PricewaterhouseCoopers is just one of numerous corporations that have recently said that they're going to, a certain percentage of their staff are going to be full-time remote for the foreseeable future. So again, if you're in the areas of finance, accounting, economics, law, or IT, and you're looking to have a remote job, the average entry-level salary at PricewaterhouseCoopers is around $53,000. And they say you can work anywhere on the planet. So things are changing very quickly in this country. Captain Cisco says, did you see Captain Kirk get launched into space? I did hear about that because I heard a couple days ago he was beefing with one of his former co-actors by the name of, I think his name is George Taki or Takai or something like that. One of the Asian dude that used to be on the Star Trek show with him. They were beefing on social media. 2 80-year-old men beefing. I mean, it's just unbelievable in 2021, right? But you guys just give me 1 second because I see that the brother Edward Anderson wants to link. I want to give him a chance to speak on this. Edward always has good things to talk about when it comes to this topic. Like Edward is more in tune to what goes on with these ABWs here on social media than I am. I just remember April Mason because I remember that everyone was talking about her 2 years ago when that whole false kidnapping hoax was exposed. So, Edward, I'm going to go ahead and get you that link, man. So let me see what you brothers are saying in the chat. Yeah, they're a big four accounting firm. Yeah, PricewaterhouseCoopers. So Van Uger says, I've gotten many mean mugs from black women. I mean, I got to be honest, dude. Out here in the upper Midwest, man, like it ain't even something that I even pay attention to. And I don't think most black men even care at all. It's almost like they're invisible. In this age where everything is hyperinflation, everything is high cost, man, don't nobody got time to be playing games no more. We're about to enter a stage of straight hyperinflation over the next couple of years. So whatever little money that you think that you got, better hold tight to it. Let me see. Man, I got to get Edward email. He changed his email, man. I got your old email, Edward. All right, Ed, I sent you that link, man. It's all you. So yeah, the only outcome I can see for black men now that you have someone like April Mason, because think about it. You got to look at this from the standpoint of what percentages are we talking about. April Mason is someone who, again, she went from black male basher to pink pill advocate to now saying I've given up on black women. That's a big deal to me. I don't know if it's a big deal to you guys, but it's a big deal to me because she represents the sensible black women in America. Now, I'm not saying that all black women think like her, but I'm saying if so many black men have all these complaints about the super majority of black women, and then she comes to this position, I mean, what's left to argue about at this point? What is left to argue about at this point? Because again, she herself is saying, I'm gonna go work with these black men because these black women are entitled, they're delusional, they're mean, they're evil. This is what she said. So that the only thing that's left is for black men to now let go of your guilt. It's time to find another store. And that's Edward's little tagline, find another store. So he got the mic.
Yeah, what's up, Sigma?
Hey, salute, brother.
Yeah, I've talked about this in ad nauseum, and I was on stream for a while last night. Shout out to Shannon. I really need you on that stream. Because you're better than me at breaking a lot of this historical information down between you and Nameless, and even though I'm good myself, so I handled it. But you had some kind of quasi feminist rhetoric. But anyway, I'll send you a link on that so you can hear what was said, because it was really interesting.
Okay, right
BTS
quick.
was in there.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me, because I want you to have the mic for the whole time. So let's just read Cisco's super
Mhm.
chat. Did you see the story about the single mother that tried to off herself and execute an innocent man in the process? Just happened in Texas. No, I haven't seen that one. You got it, Ed.
Well, it's always a story like that. But anyway, as far as what's on the topic with April, what I was saying in the chat is, and David Carroll actually brought this to my attention as far as in his video. Part of it is financially motivated. Kevin Samuels has shown there is a market of men that are willing to pay for coaching services. The problem, and April Mason is an internet marketer at the end of the day, and people forget that. People forget that she's a marketer, she's a consultant, she knows how to create her own products, she knows how to consult for products for other people. So a lot of it was that there was no market that was established or shown at any significant number. I mean, O'Shea was like one of the biggest YouTube channels, O'Shea or Alpha Male Strategy. That was more on the young version of it. But when you see dudes like Dennis Sperling, dudes that are coming up like the lead attorney, not saying these guys need help, but they're establishing there is a market of guys that have a certain look, have a certain career, have a certain amount of income, and that is part of what's in the table as well. Because I remember I followed April for a long time. April did not really make products for dudes. She tried to at times, but she never went along with it. I don't know if it was enough dudes that were willing to pay, and the price points of those products were very, very low. Like I remember she tried to do an event, and the event was like going to be $35 per head. That's nothing for compared to the kind of money she's trying to pull. So that's also one of the things that's in the cocktails. When you see a guy that went to 1.22 million, and granted, a lot of that is women, but a lot of that is men as well, especially of different races. That's something that you notice. And then she's all, and so that's one thing. The other thing is, as far as what you've been talking about on like the things that she said in the post. I mean, yeah, it is an indictment. And the thing is, it's not just her. Rebecca Lynn Pope did that before she tried to take it back. Um, Nicole Michelle did that after she tried to throw us under the bus. She came back and threw women under the bus and said she's dealing with other races of women. Even Crystalline Carrison has done that, but she told on herself when she said, when she called Kevin that one time, that she can't even get black women to lose weight for white men. And then one thing that I haven't directly seen this myself, but I've heard this from a couple of people that saw some of her commentary, because she did a video on Instagram as well. Basically, she's alluding to the only thing a lot of these black women want that come to her, they want is bigger dicks. They're not really looking for relationships. They're looking for basically concubine situations, like male concubine situations that these dudes can also probably provide some security as well. So again, April is not stupid. April's from California. She's living in Atlanta. She knows what time it is. She knows what time it is. She knows what the game is. And she's been known. They have been known. But what happens is they have financial motivations to not really tell the whole truth, because that's not really, I'm not trying to make it like they're bad people, but their goal is to make the money. And if you have a mentality of you're not going to you're not going to say stuff to interfere with the money, then well, you get what you get. Now that she's pretty much done dealing with black women, she can kind of tell. It's kind of like ending a relationship. You can kind of tell folks how you really feel. Now she still has her videos and her portfolio that she put together, but she's not going to be doing active coaching. She's going to be like, look, you want help about a product, that the end. That's it. Not no ask me, none of that. So yeah, I mean that's really where we are. So you've got multiple dating coaches that have all stated that. And then remember, Obsidian used to always talk about that Ebony magazine with those dating coaches too. They're not on YouTube. They said the same thing. So everybody's saying the same thing now, but you still have folks that they just want to play anything that's being said about black women is bashing black women. And what you'll see from the females are just not going to talk about this. They're going to ignore it. They're going to take their hits and then they're going to let it pass by. They're not going to address this because what is it to address, to be honest? You're not going to beef with April because, look, say what you want to about April. April looks more feminine than most of these females on YouTube. And the reality is she's been through more than a lot of these women have been through. So it's really nothing they can really say to her. So they're just gonna eat it and then hope it goes away. Just like a white man whooping a white black female's ass. They just won't talk about it.
So she said that all these black women want is to get dug out a little bit deeper, huh?
Yeah, and then you gotta remember her market. Her market is between, like, at its youngest 35, but really it's like 30, probably 37 to like 44. That's really her market. So her market is women that are on the last bus stop. These women have careers, and then now they want the man, like they want the man to match.
The
And
cleanup man is back. So let me get this real quick,
Yeah.
Edward. So super chat from the rubber band man. He says black women and simps are trying to do their own great reset. I mean, they might be trying to reset it, but the environment, nothing has changed in America at all. So,
what they're trying to do is they're trying to reinvent history, and that's not going to work. That's kind of some stuff that happened on a call I was on with a kind of an up and coming YouTuber, with the kind of these new like 4.0 networks they're starting to spring up. But they're trying to reinvent history. And
no, that's not. Yeah, that ain't the track record is too much. It's too many breadcrumbs. There's too much information available today to know how we got here. Like, I'm a big believer in cause and effect, and I never move away from that. Like, a lot of guys try to move away from cause and effect. They get into the gaslighting game. They like to, like you said, try to memory hold what happened. No, I'm not into that. I'm into cause and effect and solution. Those three, cause and effect, so you'll know how you got there, and then what's the solution. So in terms of this conversation, the cause has been the overinflated artificial position that the majority of black women have had the last, I just speak to the last 30 years, but I know that a lot of the OG kind of guys, they say this thing has been going on for centuries. But I like to stick to the
and you're not gonna lie your way out of this. Like, the thing is, here's why I say that. I don't say that because I have this moral thing. That doesn't matter. The reality is the Z's are not playing with you all. The Z's are not talking to black women. And see, a lot of times when you hear women talk, a lot of these women are like in their 40s, and they think that, and it's like they're like these Xers or like older millennials, where they think, okay, that's not really going to work even in the men of your age group, because the men in your age group are in a different stage of their life where they have different testosterone levels. So that's not really governing a lot of their mentalities on wanting to negotiate with you. Then you got dudes that they want to deal with younger women. And then these are guys that are not necessarily as pro-black as the same guys have in the past in those age ranges. So you have that going on. Then a lot of these guys are supposed to be married. If you look at like baby boomers and stuff like that, so they're not. Remember what Obsidian said, black men are the largest bachelors. A lot of that started with like the Xers and the millennials. So you're dealing with a different type of guy at that age range that women in the past have not had to deal with. Then these guys are free to date out or date the women they want. So really the only thing holding them back is them. Then you got women that are in the market. Like, there's never been this many women that are like 38 to like 40 plus that are not married, even black women, and that are open and free floating in this market. Remember I told you the rise of the Tokyo Tony grandmothers. So you're dealing with a whole nother market. That's the best market they can deal with.
But Edward, what is that? But here's my question, because I know that this is your thing. Like, you really get into like this dysfunction with black women and the dynamics between black men. So I guess my question would be, what does it say if in 2021 we know that there's this oversaturation of online self-appointed gurus that claim to have the smoking gun and a magic formula for fixing the black man and the black woman, right? But what does it say that in reality, the same people that will say, well, I got this special sauce that can fix it all for these black women, when the black women who are the mothers, who are the grandmothers of the community say, I throw in the towel. You tell me that's not a huge moment when they say they throw in the towel? Because no one has said what is next after that. Once those women, who are the last remaining...
No, they're going to ignore it. They're going to pretend. They're going to do when black people have nothing to say. They pretend it didn't happen. That's exactly. I mean, what women do you see really talking about this, other than women that are kind of like caping, the ones that are considered pick-me's? Mm-hmm. What women like Chrissy, Paris, Karis, any of these females? Because Karis is with a black dude apparently. So
now, hold on. If that's now, Babatunde Amana over at SlayingEvil.com, right? He calls her the priestess of Swirl Mountain, right? Do you understand what that means?
That's another moment.
Now, that is huge. Because remember, when she got the backlash from all the black men in social media when her cousin did the false kidnapping rape hoax, the first thing she did was teamed up with the so-called divesting, so-called leveling up community. That was in 2020. Now you tell me it's not ironic. 1 year later, after teaming up with Karazin has fallen into the graveyard of Swirl Mountain, and now this woman is falling into the graveyard of Swirl
I
Mountain.
literally shared on my video because David Carroll did a video when that happened, and that was a year ago, and I shared it, and then that's when David Carroll decided he's going to do another rabbit hole because he don't really watch Abraham Mason like that. Obsidian wanted to get his take, so he literally did a year, and it was funny because that old one he was pretty much talking about them titties. That's basically what he was saying, you know. But he kept
and she's a little bit luckier, and then I would say even with a woman like her, a middle-aged woman like her, that's what I'm saying. She's a little bit luckier than other women, but even she's struggling to nail down a long-term relationship or a husband, right?
Well, is that what she's looking for? I mean,
I don't know if that's what she's looking for.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I think.
But hold on, let me just make the point though, because what I'm saying is that the fact that she's having her own struggles based on her own issues that she's dealing with is what I'm saying is that for her to say, I already got what I'm dealing with, and I'm having trouble being able to keep a man long-term. These women, she's saying, have even more issues than she has, but they want an even better man than she could possibly get. I'm just saying, like, at what point do you say we have to have an honest conversation about the dick policing of black men? Because the only natural follow-up to what she just said would be, you black men need to go be free. I understand now. That it's time for her. Now, you've been following her for a long time. Did she ever apologize?
No, she didn't. She didn't. And they're not going to. And
so hold on. So I see Too Short online apologizing for having a preference for red bones or biracial women, right? And he's supposed to be some mega rapper, but he's a clown too. But you're telling me that even at this late date, 2 years later, after all that hoax and putting the Atlanta black men at risk for being arrested or shot because someone thought they raped the woman that fit the profile or whatever, you're telling me 2 years later she still has not apologized.
I mean, you're the cause and effect guy. There is no effect to that. There is no punishment mechanisms to that. I mean, it's not gonna just happen. The reason why what's that white chick's name that was talking about, you know, white men for a second, and she's like she used to be on like The Blaze and Fox, and she's the younger Tommy Lauren. The reason why she apologized because there's a consequence. There was consequences of her getting blacklisted by white men. There's a black men don't have that consequence. So so of course it's not gonna happen.
But hold on though, bro. Hold on. Don't go too far with that though, because think about what you just said. At every corner, every opportunity, black men are apologizing for things they shouldn't even be apologizing for.
Yes, because there's a consequence.
Here is a woman who went viral, who made money off of a lie, off of a hoax. Again, I'm gonna say it again. If you were an Atlanta black male that week, you were at risk of being picked up on the streets and put into a black cop car and taken somewhere in question for rape. And it was only later found out that it was a lie. So I would have thought that, considering the post that she posted on her social media page where she was talking to the black woman, where she says, here's a line: not knowing how to be versus do. Thinking being a feminine woman is weak or a pick-me, whatever that is, placing the blame and not taking responsibility or accountability for the choices they made in men. So you're telling me that a woman that's saying that line, that's made money off of the gender war, that she still to this day, even though she went from being a black male basher to joining the pink pill movement and double down, she never apologized, even at this late date, for what she did. See, this is why.
No, and she's not. And she also said being a high value man is being a high earning man is not being. She said something about, well, a lot of men think being a high earning man is being a high value man. Not, you know. So she also said that in that same post. So I mean, she's still the same person. You know, I don't. This is why I kind of brought up the financial motivation.
That's why I'm glad you know that, man. I'm glad you recognize that, because I'm seeing all these conversations, but I'm not seeing people put the whole thing, the
Just
whole picture
because just
together. You know what I'm
because they
saying?
get just because they get frustrated and they tell black women about themselves doesn't mean black men have this hope. Like again, that Kevin Samuels video that when he did talk about should black men open up the options to get competition, because that's what it was. It didn't necessarily say to leave black women, but to open up their options. So if they can't find a black woman, they need to basically the stigma needs to be gone, and black men need to start dealing with other black men that date out and stop this. I'm gonna shun you on grounds of being pro black, which is really grounds of
That is
caring
it.
for the
So then
women.
I got to ask you the question, because when I was on one of your panels recently, I had told you that I'm of the school of Frederick Douglass, right? And some people didn't understand what I was talking about because they don't understand that Frederick Douglass, he was about more than just race loyalty. Frederick Douglass said that the United States must live up to their founding documents, period. Justice, equal treatment, equal opportunity. Just that simple for him. When it came time for him to have a wife, he had a black wife. He had children with her. Successful young men in his family went and fought in the Civil War or whatever. But later, as an older man, he met a white woman that had brought the same package that that black woman had brought, but he had divorced his wife for whatever reason. She was available. He married her. He told them, "You don't have any business asking me questions about my wife. My credentials and my track record speaks for itself. Show me what you've done in terms of justice, in terms of bringing the equal opportunity message to the
Well,
world."
they don't care about that. Black people
See,
don't care about
so
that.
just make it make sense to me that so Frederick Douglass, he was free to have his options. Um, it's a lot of guys here on Black YouTube who call themselves pro-black that are caught out there with women of different races. So they talk against black male freedom, the dick policing, but then in their own private life, they're all about that freedom lifestyle and dating women of other
They're
people.
never. You gotta understand. They're never. People like that are never going to acquiesce. They're not going to officially do that because at the end of the day, their job is to keep up a facade. Even as much as ridiculous as it starts to look, as goofy, because their job is not really to help black women. Their job is to basically leech off of them by basically selling emotional snake oil and basically being emotional dope dealers. That's the industry. Basically, the industry now is to cope with black females BS. The problem with April, bringing it back to her, is these women actually wanted results. See, Derek can get away with that because Derek can just sell them bull. They don't really expect results.
But here's the
See,
question, though, Ed. I want to ask you. Okay, now we understand that she's a middle-aged woman, but here's the question: in this little cycle that she's gone through the last 2 years, how much damage did she do to not only black men through misandry, but how much damage did she do to the black young? Why isn't no one talking about the fact that, okay, we always talk about this marriage, the premium age for marriage in America is 25 to 35. That's a fact. Here's the question I want to pose to you. How much damage has she done in those 2 years by joining forces with those that she joined forces with to harm the outcomes for young black women who were in that 25 to 35 dating range that were listening to her black male hate message and then saw her join up with Kerrison, who I guess you just now said, I can't even believe you said that now Kerrison is not the
most
preacher's
of her
hero man no
market
more.
isn't most of her market isn't young women, so it's not a lot of damage. Most of her market is like 30, really above 35 years old, really more in the 40 range. Her market, young women don't really listen to her like that. That's just not her. That's not because they don't got the money to pay her, so that's not who she aims at. That I mean, it's
So then, okay,
confusion. What she sowed seeds for confusion. Yes, I will give you that.
so you said her
Absolutely.
market is 35 plus.
Yeah, but for the few young women that listen to her, yeah, what she's done is confusing. And same thing with Kerosene, because it's confusing. Because it's not because at the end of the day, these people act like these women got their stuff together from the relationship quality of life. They don't. A lot of these women are
But how?
basic.
But see, this is why I have so many problems with like this whole arguments that be coming from the black majority. This woman and others like her, man, all of that money that they make, all of this attention they got, and then you just now said that Kerosene is no longer the priestess of Swirl Mountain now.
Okay. So the thing is, it's like you're trying to it's almost like you're trying to go to a sane asylum and make sense of what in a insane asylum. That's kind of like when you're asking me these logical questions. Yeah, black come on, man. We know what time it is. Most of the stuff is designed to cope emotionally. It has nothing to do with logic. It has nothing to do with solutions. It has nothing to do with anything that would actually increase quality of life. It has zero to do with that. And then where black men fall into that is black men want to save these chicks because they want to save their mama. So black men stay in the game. Again, I keep pointing to that Kevin Samuels video he just did with the dating out, because if you listen to those guys had no logical reason why black men shouldn't open up their options, but they kept on. And it was even a dude from Zoe What Williams show, Jeff Brown, that called in, and I know he knows better. They were pushed, because that was like the longest exchange that Kevin had outside of like a mirror, and he basically checked him and told him to sit down. And I kind of felt bad for him, but at the same time, because he was trying to lean on the basically pass it down generational wealth argument, and Kevin was, because that was a thing another dude brought up, and
so that old canard of passing down the wealth.
And Kevin was like, well, these guys are not getting married, and these guys are not passing down anything because they're dying single because they don't have mates. So,
but there's another point to that argument as well. Another counter that I've said before with the passport gate stuff is that this lie about passing down the money is a total lie. You're a guy that really knows about the black economics part of it, and you know damn well that most black people, they spend all their money that they get right back into the white economy.
Yeah,
so I don't understand this argument about, hey, they not passing down their wealth.
But this is like black female hyper-consumerism, divorce, all that stuff.
It's going right back to white daddy and white mommy anyway.
Yeah, but see, it's just like culture. It's funny how black people will bring up certain terms only in certain circumstances. You don't never hear ADOS black people talk about culture until it's time to try to keep black men dick police. That's what they go, well, we need to stick with people in our own culture. I'm like, yo, if I actually had a conversation about culture, this is for black men and black women, that conversation would not last long with the vast majority of black men, because they don't even, black people, women and men, because they've never really thought out what culture is, because we just don't think like that in ADOS community. They think culture is the music. It was one dude, let me tell you something. It was one dude that called in there. You know what he told okay, you know what he told Kevin? He said, yeah, man, I'm just gonna keep it 100. Why we shouldn't date out. Let's just be real. You can't teach I can't teach Jessica X how to play spades. I can't. That's his idea of what culture was. God. That's literally what he led with Kevin. He literally led like that. Like this is what they think. And so what happens is they try to bring up the black economic stuff. They do this to try to emotionally fit it in. See, they have an emotional stance and they're trying to fit it in, and they use logic to fit it in. The logic doesn't drive the emotion drives the logic. And they try to and they try to fit it into their argument, and they try to jump from thing to thing to thing. I had to deal with this yesterday, where they try to jump from thing to thing to thing, and then they start playing little manipulative games, thinking they slick. And it's funny because the comment section under there, this particular woman, and she's all right. They kept saying, is she a feminist? Is she a feminist? But she's a Republican, so to speak. That's what makes it so funny. It's like, even if you're a black Republican, you still have this little matriarchal BS that people identify as feminism. Really, it's intersectionality. And you can't, you think it works on most folks because most folks don't know what they're talking about. But when you come, because I'm not going to lie, I got annoyed. So I said, because he kept on playing the elder card with me. So I said, all right, I went and got BGS from another panel. I said, okay, we about to have this conversation, because we were having a conversation about, was the black community ever a patriarchy? And she kept on like thinking having a black family is having a patriarchy. No, it's not. And I knew she knew it wasn't. But anyway, when it comes to this stuff with April Mason, at the end of the day, this is just one more evidence in the evidence locker. We have multiple dating coaches saying this stuff now. Nicole Michelle does not work exclusively with black women. She works with pretty much all women now. Rebecca Lynn Pope is pretty much kind of retreated, Wait.
So you said that all dating lives matter now?
Yeah, Nicole Bid said that. She said
Uh-oh.
she did a post maybe like 4 or 5 months ago where she said basically I'm working with all women because I find that non-black women listen. She said the same thing. She said this time she focused it on non-black women. Saying that they listen and they tend to buy the product and not have an issue. So so she said that you've got Rebecca Rebecca Lynn Pope she's selling courses still, but she's pretty much retreated. She's selling courses to like the church market for like 1,000, 1,500, 500 at its minimum. And so if you understand the courses that are being sold and how much they cost, then you kind of, and I'm not trying to hate on nobody for doing courses, but then you understand
Salute to
kind
you,
of,
brother Charles Irby, for the $10, man. Appreciate you, brother.
yeah, you get the game behind that, you know. You get the game behind what they're doing, and it's not. And so a lot of this, you gonna jump on black men and black men or this, that crap is marketing. It really is. And but what they find is like any consultant, if the clients are bad, you're not, once you stop talking about black men, because here's the thing, most of these women only want to date black men. And this is where the bigger dicks thing came from. I know it is. That's what that told me, is that they only really want to date black men. So, and April probably has access to a few non-black guys too. So, but the reality is they want to date black men because they're uncomfortable with non-black men because they understand they can't get away with none of this crap. They got to do some real work if they're going to deal with even if it's like low-level non-black men. So they want this magical cocktail of dude that, this is where Kevin and other people had to say, it's not that many 6-figure guys. It's
Edward,
just not.
hold that thought 1 second, because I want to share, because this ties in exactly what you just said. I'm sure by now you've heard about that black female lawyer who was killed in Atlanta yesterday.
Yeah, I've seen some videos
earlier this week
by the Thuggo dude.
Yeah, by the Thuggo. So she was dating a Thuggo, and I think this ties into what you're talking about.
After an active shooter kills a woman in a Midtown high-rise. For the first time, we're hearing eyewitness accounts of the shooter jumping from balcony to balcony. CBS 46's Zach Summers has the newly released 911 call. Zach.
Yeah, Rick, in one of those 911 calls, we hear a witness tell dispatch that they heard multiple gunshots coming from Atlantic House for at least 15 minutes with no officers in sight.
I heard him say, "He killed that bitch." Yeah, I can still hear him screaming.
911 calls reveal many residents living in and around Atlantic House witnessed Wednesday morning shooting from the balconies of their high-rise apartments. Callers reported hearing several shots coming from Atlantic House on West Peachtree, and a man, later identified as Jarvis Durrett, screaming and jumping from balcony to balcony.
Oh my God, I think he's just, he just got in the balcony on the, he got into the next apartment, someone else's. And he's trying to break the window wall.
Durrett is accused of killing 31-year-old Courtney Cox, a lawyer who lived on the 21st floor of the building. Friends say the two began dating over the summer.
Yeah, he's just going back and forth, trying to like see if anybody's coming. I mean, he's like left, right, looking left, right, left, right. Right now he's straddling. Shots are being fired.
Durrett was shot and killed by a responding officer after the GBI says the 32-year-old fired a rifle at police.
Now, while no one else was hurt, a bullet did hit a pipe, causing some flooding inside Atlantic House. Stray bullets also hit other units, including an apartment complex across the street. Live in Midtown, Zach Summers, CBS 46 News.
Zach, thank you.
So you there, Edward?
Yeah, I'm here. I heard it all.
So that ties into what you were saying. Go ahead and give us your breakdown.
I mean, you know, that's an unfortunate situation, but you know, these females. This is why when people always try to use the deflection of, oh, y'all just dealing with ratchet females and all of that. Nah, man, all these chicks be chasing the same niggas. Like even the higher classes. I don't know why people try to pretend that's not happening. So when they talk about we need to protect women, well, women need to start protecting their dating choices and stop playing with dudes. Because even Karazin, there's a story with Karazin that BGS talked about before she got with the dude that she had her first kid with the dude that pretty much created her villain origin story. Apparently, you know, she was playing with thugs, but she went through a situation kind of similar to that. And then, you know, what happens is it puts the fear of God in them, so they leave that alone. But she was doing that. A lot of these women, because with black women, that's their idea of being wild, dealing with thuggo dudes. That's like just like how with white women, their idea of being wild is dealing with black men. You know, so, you know, but the type of dudes they deal with will put them in mortal danger. So again, and then it was a chick on Lead Attorney that was a lawyer, 35. Or no, she was older than that. But you know, this is the stuff that does it. Nobody wants to say because it's seen as quote unquote bashing black women, blaming black women. But going back, you have all these dating coaches now, and we've had evidence before that. Remember that we had Obsidian used to always reference that Ebony Magazine article, which you can still get, of dating coaches saying black female matchmakers saying the same thing. So this is like a 15-20 year thing at this point. This, like, now you just have them openly saying it in social media medium, where, to be fair, you know, April was smart by putting it. I mean, obviously people screenshotted it, but it's not the same as like somebody making a video like Rebecca. It's played over and over and over again, because that's why she got attacked by black women, because that video was so damning. And so it was seen that you went against the sisterhood. Because that was just such a smoking gun. That's why that video got multiple millions of views, and she still has it up on her channel to this day. But she had to disavow the video because it was impeding her ability to make money. So in that market, because when you got that little church market, remember, notice how all these people are in Atlanta too. April's in Atlanta, Rebecca's in Atlanta, Nicole's in Atlanta.
And Atlanta was also ground zero for April Mason's false kidnapping rape story.
Yeah, which I'm not trying to sweep that under the bus, but I know black men ain't gonna do nothing with it. But yeah, that is very damning, and that's why you haven't really seen me reference her after that, because that's very damning. Like, the truth is, she should have apologized.
And the brother Harambe, he says that that building that was in the news report of the lawyer that was killed, he says that building she lived in is $2,500 a month for a 1-bedroom. So she was. You know, she was an upper class woman. She was a high caliber. I attended law school for a year, and I can tell you, most people that have never gone to law school or been in that arena don't understand the cost of law school. Do you realize that the average cost of law school for tuition alone is around $40,000, not counting your living expenses in 2021? So here you have a woman who potentially spent between $150,000 to $250,000 to get a legal education. She's practicing law. I don't know. They didn't say what kind of law she does, but just understand that that's $150,000 to $250,000 investment. She's dating your local thug, and now she's dead. But the same women want to come to Edward, the men in the chat, and myself and say, we owe them some protection. How can I protect a woman who has more education than probably everyone in this chat right now, has a higher status in the workforce than most men probably listening right now, and thinks she knows everything and is independent, and go up to her and say, don't date that thug? Well, but when it goes bad, it's all black men's fault.
Yeah, because they don't want a protection. They want a bailout. And they want dudes to be like German shepherds, where they could just release the hounds when they want to. What they want is what, you know, we call them gyno 6 and shoulders. There's a lot of beta male, but that's what they want. They want like black men as a culture to hold black men accountable when black men do what they don't.
But they don't even hold these men accountable. Where are the streams of talk? Because they always talk about how black men are jealous of black women
because
black
they
men
want
are doing
these
so much
guys
better
for
than black men.
access.
So I'm asking again to those listening, where are your streams when this thuggo has killed a black female lawyer? And again, I told you guys about the money. What you don't know, do you realize that in most of these law schools in the top 100, they only have 1 to 4 Native Black Americans in their class? All the blacks in their class, the majority will end up being immigrant blacks. And it won't even be many of them. So let's say you take a law school like your typical Big Ten law school in the top 100. They'll have about 300 people in the incoming class. In their 1L class, they'll have maybe 10 blacks in that class. 6 of those 10 will be women. But of those 10, 8 of those 10 will be immigrant blacks. There'll only be 2 Native blacks. And that could be two black women, it could be two black men, or it might be a black man and a black woman. But in that arena, black men and black women are disappearing. So here we have a woman who made that kind of investment, time investment. It takes like 4 years to 5 years just to get through undergraduate. Then you got another 2 to 4 years of law school. And then you got to get an apprenticeship. Well, before you get the apprenticeship, you got to pass the bar. This woman invested probably 10 years into that becoming a lawyer, bro. And now she's dead to.
Well, she's dead, and I'm gonna keep it all the way. And this is gonna be effed up to say. You're not gonna. She's dead because of her own carnal behavior. Yes, it's unfortunate she died, but the reality is, the truth is, and I don't know if she's ADOS or not ADOS, but my thing is, she had no business dealing with a dude like that. Period. And you people would say, oh, well, you're blaming the victim. This is not. She's dead. This is about using her as a lesson for future females. That's what that is, because that's the value. Just like when you do organ donors, I mean, you can't take away the fact that she's dead. All of that, doing hymns, oh Lord, feeling sorry for her, pouring liquor, whatever you want to do. I mean, at the end of the day, she made her choice. The outcome was the outcome. That dude is going to be prosecuted. So it's not like he's not. We already know what time that's about to be. So what do? You feel, am I going to protect everybody, every other female's right to do that? If you're going to say, oh, well, black women need to be protected. Well, black women can be protected by thugs. If you choose to deal with thugs, you absolve yourself from protection. That's like me saying, well, I'm rich and I got gold chains and I should be able to walk through the hood and be protected. You're an idiot.
But Edward, can we loop back to what we were talking about when we talk about the origin of this culture, right? So we obviously just saw the news report. We talked about the April Mason situation. Now, going back down that memory hole, why do we act like the whole 2000 to 2020 period wasn't black women and other women that talking about and glorifying the thug? Now, you look at someone like Beyonce. She's the perfect example to me. Beyonce is the person who she made millions of dollars off of selling the idea of loving the thug and black thug love. She made lots of money off that, selling it to these women. She has had no problem finding a husband. She found one of the most high tier.
Because that's what she was doing, selling it.
Yeah, so she sold that to these women and they bought it. No one forced them to buy it, but I'm saying that these women were seasoned, their minds, they absorbed the culture and they became the art. So Beyonce was selling art, but in their real lives, they turned that art into reality. And now you look up, black lawyers getting murdered by their thuggo boyfriends, black women running the streets doing fake hoaxes on black men and all this stuff. And I just ask, what has really been the great value of this thug and thought culture that's been preached to all of us the last 30 years? And I use Beyonce because you get these women when they're on our panels and we're talking to them. Oh, we didn't like thugs. We was going after Urkel. We didn't like thugs.
Well, and they actually, and that comes from black women actually believing they're smarter than black men because they think they could just revise history. But
let me just share this paragraph. I want you to respond to this paragraph from a Beyonce song, "I Need a Soldier." Now, I'm mentioning this song because this was one of the biggest tracks in Beyonce's rise to fame. And the women that I remember, they were really big into this song. And I just want to read this one paragraph, what they were saying. These women lie all the time, but let's look at the record. If your status ain't hood, I ain't checking for him. Better be street if he looking at me. I need a soldier that ain't scared to stand up for me. Known to carry big things, if you know what I mean. If your status ain't hood, I ain't checking for him. Better be street if he looking at me. I need a soldier that ain't scared to stand up for me. Got to know to get dough, and he better be street. So what do you think about just tell me, because that fits into everything with this April Mason, because again, she said that all those black women want is a bigger dick. That's what Beyonce was saying.
Well, yeah, and Beyonce was tapping. The thing about Beyonce's sales team was she was tapping into, her sales team was very good at tapping into like concepts and ideas that were already there, making a song about it to blow up, to create a hit out of it. So Beyonce wasn't selling nothing to black women. She was just reflecting what black women already wanted. And people can argue the morality of that, but Beyonce's an entertainer. Her job is to entertain. That's it. Her job is not to lead them in a direction that the promised land. That's never been what an entertainer's supposed to do. Sometimes they can do it. but that's not what they're supposed, which is why entertainers are not supposed to be looked at and to make life choices. Also, what's interesting too, I want to add is, she got, controversy over her Cater to You song. So basically you got the same feminist women trying to say Cater to You is toxic. Now notice how, notice they didn't talk. What's the song? The last song, "Dance for You." Notice how they didn't talk about that because a white man was in that music video versus "Cater to You" had black men in it, which is the same kind of song. It was on different albums.
But hold on. The narrative in 2021 is that they've been looking for like a clean cut, white collar.
They're liars. They're liars. So I mean,
let's hear what Beyonce got to say though. Let's go to her next verse, because I want you to respond to her song and how it relates to the April Mason, how it relates to the Level Up, and this trying to erase real history. Here's Beyonce again. "I like them boys over there. They looking strong tonight. Just might give one the phone tonight. Homie in the Dickies," not khakis. She said, "Homie in the Dickies in my zone tonight." So that line alone, "Homie in the Dickies in my zone tonight." She don't mention the dude in the suit. She don't mention the dude in the khakis. She want that dude in the Dickies. He don't know it might be on tonight. Oh, he looking good and he talking right. So he's spitting game to her. He the type that might change my life. So remember, in the eyes of these women of this generation, it's the thuggo that might change her life, not Carlton.
It's always, I forget, it's always songs like that, like where there was
But hold on, her last line in that paragraph, she said, "Every time he look at me, my girls be like, that one might be the one tonight." Now, brothers in the chat and Edward, this is their own words. I've never seen them make a song about Carlton or Urkel, but they got hundreds of songs that are bestsellers, platinum selling, about the love for the thug poets. You got Jada Pinkett running around 30 years later fiending for Tupac. You got it, Ed.
So basically what you're doing, Sigma, is you're presenting overwhelming evidence, and what black women and black people are going to do is just plead insanity and override all of that. They're going to say that doesn't matter because I'm not accountable for my actions because I'm clinically insane, which is one of the reasons why David Carroll talks about how being a black woman needs to be in the manual because it's a mental illness. So I get the overwhelming evidence, but we've been had that. We had that early in 2.0. But hold on. When Chrissy was talking about date D-boys and this is why black women like to date D-boys, like we've been had that evidence. So now the difference is it's not just one content, it's a whole bunch of credible people that are coming with that. So, I mean, we could have 1,000 pages of evidence. It doesn't matter. Like we're beyond we need to prove it. That's why me having to answer all of these, like, I get the evidence. I mean, I get it. But I mean, that doesn't matter because they're just going to ignore that. And then still, here's the thing. This is their calculation. Their calculation is there's enough black men that are desperate to deal with black women that this is why I've started to ask the question, where is the forgiveness? Because you got black women that literally kill children. They have literally, I'm not talking about abortion. They have lit that article with a video with a woman shot her son in the leg, then killed him. The dude said she was a good mom though.
Oh my
so
God.
All of this, and that's not. And then you had a situation where a black female killed her daughters, each one by two different dudes.
I heard about that one.
Yeah. So this thing you give it. So what you saying ain't nothing. They're just, and you got dudes that will validate that, daughters and sons. So you got dudes that will validate that. So they're not looking for you. They're not looking for me.
Well, all I'm saying is that
they're looking for the suckers.
I need them in these situations where the black lawyer chick was killed in the circling back of April Mason. I need them to just say, hey, we were talking about the thugs, because in Beyonce's song, that line where she said, I need a soldier that ain't scared to stand up for me. Okay. So what I'm saying when I talk about the protection deflection is that I'm sick, and a lot of other men are sick of hearing about protection now. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Have Pookie defend you. You said he's a soldier. You said he's so strong and he's so thugged out. But when it goes bad and he turns the gun on you, when he turns that dysfunctional matriarchal energy on you, Don't look over here.
Well, black women, yeah, and black women have been saying that. They've been saying that they want, I need to feel protected as a justification for dating. Like, they're stereotypical black dude. Because if you're light skinned, you get tagged. The motherfuckers will try to tag you with that. Oh, I need to feel protected. I need to do this. And then the next thing out of their mouth, they want to talk about surviving something. And they want to talk about Blackistan as if Blackistan is not full of the very stuff that they're sexually attracted to. Blackistan is Blackistan is their sexual, the environment they create based on what they're sexually attracted to. And everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. And yeah, there's going to be pushback against the propaganda. This is why David Carroll does what he does. But this idea of trying to convince them of anything, women don't care about the logic. No, I get what you're saying. I'm just saying is women do not care about the logic behind why they say what they say. They feel it and they say it. The problem I have is when dudes start doing that and when dudes start resonating with them. Like I had one dude in this video we were talking about, like in the end he was talking about, he kept saying I feel. That's the first issue. The second thing is he was talking about, yeah man, well black men, we just need to hold these women accountable. And I'm like, when niggas say that, when you say how, they don't know. Because because if you can't, if women are not afraid to lose anything from you, you can't hold them accountable. So this idea of, well, we just need to have team meetings, with our family, and then we need to show up and do this and do this. I'm like, yo, you're dealing with women that say, I'm strong, independent, I don't need no man. And if you really are dealing with a wild female, you're not gonna stop her from being wild. A lot of step dudes fathers have got killed trying to stop a female from being wild. I'm talking about by the dudes that they deal with. You are not, if a woman really wants to be wild, and especially in today's age, where even if you kick them out, they can just get on the digital track. They don't even gotta go on the physical track. They
like when you say that, like when you make that claim, what comes to my mind, like, because I hear these women talking about the protection thing, right? I just imagine a scene in real life, right? Like I'm out in public somewhere, and I see what looks to be a woman like the lawyer that was killed in Atlanta out on the street, and she's with what looks to be a thug, saggy pants, tattooed up, teardrop artist, right? Just stereotype, right? And I'm just imagining me as just a regular working dude, just seeing this arrangement, and I just, hey, thuggo, this arrangement doesn't look appropriate, so I'm here to save this black woman from being with you. This is what they actually really in their mind are saying that black men should do that.
Well, the problem is you got a lot of these women that code switch too. So they may look a certain way in these schools, but they really like, them, what they call it, upgradable 92s and them 92 climbers or them ratchets. I mean, this is why Insecure was really popular because it represented that. I mean, we know what it is. And this is why at the end of the day, my mantra is black women, whatever you say about black men, you right now, you need to just go date out. And then black men.
Well, hold on, Edward, hold on. You offered them that and Crystalline Cares and said no.
Well, no, it doesn't matter. They don't need Crystalline Cares' permission to date out. My point is they need to go do better. If black men are the problem, go get better men. Go do better. See, there's a reason why black women don't date out because they understand what they're doing is wrong. That's why when we play these games going back and forth, they want to stay in the tug of war. I'm like, I'm letting go of the rope. It's up to you to do what you're doing. I'm not playing no more. And that's what these Z's are doing. And it's not about me saying, oh, you shouldn't date black women. What I'm saying is, as a man, this idea that from a capitalistic standpoint, you're going to say, I'm just going to deal with this one cable company when you have a whole bunch of cable companies.
Yeah.
And you just choose to deal with them because that's what you grew up with.
I always thought that was like the dumb in these conversations. I've had many of these conversations just like you have with these people.
Black women are like Sprint.
The thing I never understood using your analogy was that, so let me get this right. The argument is that black men go make as much money as possible, get as much status as possible, get your credentials all that, right? But then you say to that same black dude, but once you get all of that, you're only to give those resources and that status to 0.5% of the women on the planet. So let me explain this. Let me think about this. In America, we have some of the biggest gaps in income in the world. And so if you make it into like the top 10% of the income for the United States, that puts you in like the top 1% for the whole planet as far as a man with resources. Top 1% for the whole planet. You can go anywhere of the 250 plus nations and you have a good chance of being sitting on the throne in that city, right? Living a very good life. But then you say to that same man, but when you become that top 1% global man, that top 10% American man, you are only to give your resources, time, and energy to 0.5% of the women on the planet. Okay, 99.5% of women on the planet are not ADOS women. So make this make sense to me, dude.
Like it's not supposed to. The black community is not predicated on what makes sense. It's predicated on what's emotional, because we have a zeitgeist of a female. And then the problem is the dudes. I mean, like, even let's take the women out of it. Even with the dudes, what the dudes are gonna do is the dudes just don't talk about it. They don't talk about it. They don't open the doors that you're talking about. As soon as they hear anything that resembles logic when it comes to women, they're gonna close that door, because they understand once they hear it, they can't unhear it. So they're gonna be like blah 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 and close the door. This is why when you talk to these dudes about logic, they come up with all these emotional arguments. This hold them accountable. This like half baked ideas, because these ideas are not designed to actually lead to a conclusion. They're designed to help dudes emotionally cope. It's kind of like, one of the things with procrastination is is not a lot of folks don't care if if they don't look for a solution so they can pursue that solution to get to the other side to lead to a better outcome. What they like is they like to know that a solution out there exists. So because that solution exists, that's enough for them. And so they'll speak to a solution, but they don't really know what they're talking about because they haven't really pursued it. But just knowing it, this is where we need to hold women accountable. We need to do this. Like, these half-baked ideas come from, because they've never like said, okay, let's actually do a thought experiment and map it out as to what this looks like.
Okay, Ed, so taking what you just said about that hold women accountable, how do they, when you talk to these dudes, how do they say that they're holding these black women accountable exactly? Explain.
Well, like one dude just last night, he was talking about, yeah, man, in my family, all the men, we have team meetings. We have team meetings like every week, and we talk about our goals and all that. Okay, what does that have to do with the women? Well, if there's a woman in our family that's acted up, I'm going to talk to her, the other dude to talk to her, and I may talk to her differently. This is literally what he said. I can see it in the Liquid the Time stuff. This is literally what he said. And this is their idea of holding somebody accountable. And Charles was on there, BGS was on there, so it was Black Hoover was on there. See, these are people that has nothing but dark. These are people, they got experience dealing with black females. But this is what this dude actually believed it worked. And nobody never asked him, because it was like a 6-hour stream. Asked him, well, if this chick is absolutely wild, what do you do? Because the truth is, black men, they just hope that this woman just finds religion. That's basically what they do.
The dude that was saying that the only thing he can come to is that you do all that talking just for her to come back home pregnant and say, I need you to help take care of this kid, Dad. That's about it. That's all he was saying.
Yeah, and the thing is, but he was trying to present that as like, that is like the solution. That's the thing that's missing. And what it comes to is a lot of these dudes act like if they just show the fuck up, that these women are just gonna bend. And I'm like, yo, you don't really know what you're dealing with. And plus, that's in your family. That's nothing to do with and even then that doesn't really work like that. But that's nothing to do with like outside of your own family.
What does that even mean though? Like, because think about it, these guys have, when they say show up, what is it? 7 to 8 out of 10 of all black children are raised by black women. So this idea of a black man showing up, I don't understand it, because the black men were always there in the environment.
Because his argument was that the reason why black women operate the way they operate is because there's no shaming in the black community anymore. That black men, they wanna basically get sexual access, so they've stopped shaming women. Like, that was his whole and I'm like, that's the thing that you think. This is the best he could do. And again, I'm telling you, I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm telling you, there's a video, like the second to last video on Kevin's thing.
Yeah.
Where, you need to see the dude skip to 209 and you will see the dudes talking. These dudes, because they were giving a whole bunch of arguments like that. Because Kevin was like, why shouldn't black men open up their
I'm going to be honest. I got to be honest. You guys are better than me. I'll just take your word for it. I can't even listen to these matriarchal drones, so I'm gonna just take your word.
Oh yeah, you couldn't listen.
I can't even. I can barely listen to a woman with that mentality. Come on, listening to a grown ass man using matriarchal talking points. In fact,
to see another grown, to see a man like Kevin, but Kevin wasn't like, Kevin was really knocking them down like he knocks these women down, as far as, make sense, get to the point. If they want to do the matriarchal soliloquies these dudes are doing, You know, you even had a female call in, this Lebanese chick. She called in first, and then she was talking about, you know, because she's on like a show that like has a whole bunch of black people on it. And she was like, well, you know, I don't think people should date outside their culture. And so what's the solution? Well, you know, you could maybe polygamy, perhaps. This is what, because you know that's kind of an option in, you know, Lebanese culture. And then Kevin outright told her after a couple of days, look, we live in a gynocracy. You know, we live in a, I don't know what you talk, like, I get it, but what we dealing with is something you have never really seen before. So you're providing solutions that are I mean, you coming out of Middle East, you can't even begin to understand what this situation is. You can't.
Yeah.
Because it would never get to this point. And this idea of how it happened because, again, the gynocracy is powered by white supremacy. Black women basically betrayed us for the white man, and that's another thing that black people don't want to talk about. Because then the females want to talk, oh, well, you're blaming black women. Look, man, if the shoe fits, the shoe fits. Like, you're trying to deny the fact that black women turned on black men for white women. You trying to skirt that.
The arguments are getting weaker and weaker because I heard all these arguments when I first came to space. It's the same arguments, and when we look at the lawyer that was killed, that's like someone saying you guys are blaming black women and the black thugs for killing black women and the black women getting with black thugs. They don't never. And this is why I say when it comes to the black majority, there is no standard that will have enough rewards or enough punishment within this American environment that change will come. I've always said it, and you know I've said this. The only way I see the thing changing is when you have 20 people in a room, 10 men and 10 women. And 3 to 4 of those dudes in the room say, I'm out of here. They leave. Now, the men that stay in that room and the women that are left that can't leave that room, that's the only way that change comes, because now those men have the leverage, because those women still want the validation and they still want to secure a male. And that's why I've always said that black men making the choice to get with the best woman that they can find that matches their personality it was always the solution.
The only power you have is the power of choice. That's what I keep saying in this society. And everybody, and this includes black men, are doing everything they can not to take that option. They do not want to do that. They don't want to even do the intercultural dating thing. They don't want to do it because at the end of the day, with black men, it's this guilt. And with women, they have no reason. This is why, like, every time you talk about the passport thing, it's either you're being fetishized or these women act the way they act. This was the argument yesterday. Oh, well, these women act the way they act because you're in a patriarchy. And the thing that really, really made me mad, and I'm actually gonna do a video on this like as soon as I get off with you. What really annoyed me about this was just the disingenuousness of it, because it's like people want to tell the truth and lie.
So you're gonna do a video on this. So I want you to answer this question on your video because it relates what you just said. You said that they say that other women fetishize black men, but April Mason, this is what I'm saying about these women. She just admitted that black women are the one that fetishize black men more than the other women do. She just said it in her own post.
Well, I mean, I've said that before, and I get, she just confirmed it, but I've been said that because it's obvious. When you hear black women talk about dude needs to be 6 foot, 6 pack, 6 figures, dark skin, all of this stuff, all of that is a fetishization. That is a stereotype. That is a stereotype. That's just like, when people talk about snow bunnies and stuff, that's a stereotype. And anything that operates outside of that stereotype, and statistics actually back this up with surveys and what women have said. Matchmakers have backed this up with their experience in matchmaking. So they want they want a super nigga stereotype. They want a stupid nigga stereotype that can basically pay their bills. And not even pay their bills, because it used to be pay their bills. Now it's just provide them a lifestyle. This is what most of these women want. And these women can be 200 pounds and still want that. The level of delusion is off the charts. And at this point, you got dudes that think just holding on. You're not helping these women by keeping them in their delusion. You're just not. But going back to the other thing, it's this thing where people want to lie and tell the truth at the same time, where they talk about, well, the reason these women act the way they act is because it's in a patriarchy. And basically, we don't have a patriarchy in the black community because men just won't lead. That's BS. This idea that men just won't leave is BS. Because if that was the case, then there would have been no need to keep black men out of the get black men out of the home. In order for black women to basically do what they needed to do, men could not be there. So if by definition, if men were just not leading, then men would needed to be kicked out of the home to begin with, because the women, they would have never held women accountable or nothing. It was just men being present. That's why I understand what the dude was trying to go with, but at that point, they needed to remove men from even being present. And I'm talking about, I say they, I'm talking about black women. And then they want to create, this is why they hold one of these narratives, these fucking, I'm strong in these narratives of I had to do it on my own, because that justifies it. And this is why a lot of dudes can't tell the difference between black women that are matriarchal and feminists, because they all basically operate from the same playbook to a certain extent. Yeah. So when people try to come up with this, oh, well, they do what they do because you're in a patriarch. I'm like, yeah, but the truth is you wouldn't trade your situation. Like, and I didn't ask this and I should have. And I'm going to say this in the video. Black women would not trade their situation with any other women other than outside of white women in Europe. White women in Europe and white women in America. Give me a race of women you would trade your position with right now. They wouldn't. Nobody. Because they have to advocate that control. And that is the problem. And the problem is not that black men can't take it from them. The problem is black women will regulate black men with white men, meaning they draw from this. It was the same thing when Baron Mordo the black Baron Mordo and Dr. Stray got so angry with the Ancient One. It's like you're drawing power from the very evil you say you're supposed to defeat. And you're trying to say you're doing it for like the greater good, but that's BS. That's what black women do. Black women draw power from the very white supremacy that they claim that they're against, that they claim they complain about. That's where we are. So anyway, hello.
Yeah, I was letting you get out your full statement on that because
I appreciate that. Yeah, because I'm about to hop off and do that.
So you're going to be doing a panel kind of like as a continuation of what we just talked about, right?
Well, what I'm about to do, I just want to get this off my chest. It's going to be like an after show from that last thing. I don't know if I'm bringing people. I'm probably not bringing people up. That's going to make it longer.
Well, wait until 11:30 because I want to finish my stream and I have to share some with the audience. I want to come tune in. All
right, yeah. So I'll give it time. Like, what time is it where you at?
It's just about 11 a.m. where I'm at.
Oh, okay. We were Albert High. Okay, so yeah, I'll give you that. It'll probably be like 11:45.
Yeah, okay. I'll tune in. Thanks a lot, Edward. So you guys, be looking for Edward's stream that's going to be coming up. He's going to be talking about how this relates to a panel he was on last night. But for me, since I've been in this space and I've heard this conversation about protection, black men need to protect these women from their bad choices, I've seen it go through really 3 phases that are very clear to me. There was when the Jason Roger Pope story broke, where he was accused of infecting over 600 black women with HIV from his own statements. He's still in court right now because he has like 15 to 20 counts against him. He hasn't even been, his trial hasn't even completed yet. So we don't know what the outcome is going to be for him. So that was the first time I really saw. And then you had the situation with the April Mason scandal with her cousin. Then I saw people talking about this protection piece again. And then the Chad Wheeler situation with the Seattle Seahawks player who beat up his black girlfriend or fiance at that time. He's actually still on trial right now as well. So those were the 3 phases where I saw this happen. So it kind of died down after the Chad Wheeler situation. After he got cut from the Seahawks, he's on trial right now. But now April Mason came back around, and now it's like, okay, we got to rethink this thing because everything that she said that she was against and for, she's flipped on it all now. And I'm just wondering, what is the next phase now? Because that's huge to me for someone like her or a Karasin to go from being black male bashers to pink pill promoters and to now saying that they don't want to work with black women anymore. And it's like, I'm confused because there's an oversaturation of online, quote unquote, self-appointed dating gurus, and they're all going to the black men now. So imagine one black dude in the room and he has 25 online dating gurus talking to him. But in the other room, you have 10 black women and there's no one talking to them. And I'm just asking myself, okay, You're trying to put this person in this room with these 10 women in this room, but no one's talking to her. All of those dating coaches were over there with those women, and they've run away, and they said, let's go talk to the black guy. I'm telling black men, if there was ever more clarity to me as someone who's always promoted free choice and free movement, especially for the socially mobile black man, if there was ever proof that the SISBM bros, the passport bros, and all those telling you go find the best deal you can get in the sexual marketplace, this is that moment right now. Because if someone like a April Mason doesn't want to deal with those women, if someone like Rebecca Lynn Pope has given up, you know what I'm saying? I mean, what's left? So basically, the only women left to give them any direction will be like the blind leading the blind, because don't get it twisted. There will be other women that will step into that position to get the money from those black women, but they're going to become a lower and lower quality type of woman. So these will be less competitive women teaching other non-competitive women how they're not going to get a man of quality. So that's what will be next. So now that you have the Rebecca Lynn Popes and you have these April Masons, the women that still have some competitiveness left in them are saying, I'm out. Now you're going to see a whole flood of women who are living right in the projects, but maybe they can make themselves up a little bit, that are going to go to those women and say, oh, I'm a femininity coach. I'm an expert on relationships. And of course, they won't have a husband. Of course, they won't have a long-term male or anything like that, but they will be there to sell it to that audience because the money opportunity is there. But I just kind of want to close out this discussion with some information about remote work, because obviously that's the next conversation that we got to have. So if other people that are outside of the free choice community are now saying, you know what, those guys were right, your best opportunity is to go after the women that choose you, the women that respect you, and the women that admire you, wherever you can find her within America, outside of America. They all have admitted this now. That's what this whole April Mason saga is really about. So when I was looking at the Price Waterhouse press release, seeing that they have 40,000 jobs that are available for remote work for those that have backgrounds in economics, finance, and accounting, I said, brothers need to know about this opportunity because a lot of them will qualify for this job. And I just want to share that opportunity with you all before I get out of here. So let me just bring that up real quick. So here's that article that was presented on Reuters. It says exclusive. PricewaterhouseCoopers offers U.S. employees full-time remote work. So a little bit about that. It says accounting and consulting firm PwC told Reuters on Thursday it will allow all its 40,000 U.S. client services employees to work virtually and live anywhere they want in perpetuity, making it one of the biggest employers to embrace permanent remote work. So this is permanent, guys. This change from PricewaterhouseCoopers. And it's not like it's a very hard company to get into if you have a college degree. So for you guys that were wondering, you know, what kind of job can I get? Well, PricewaterhouseCoopers will be putting 40K of their workers in full-time permanent remote work position. And they said themselves, you can work anywhere. Shout out to the brother Citizen Lou. I see him in the chat. He says remote work for the win. And he's a brother that's always talking about, you know, IT, remote work, and passport travel. And now PricewaterhouseCoopers has just affirmed that everything that he's been talking about is right. So again, that's just one company, but 40,000 jobs. So if you have a bachelor's degree or a 2-year degree in some kind of finance or accounting, go check with a guy like Citizen Lou, Black Men's Travels, Yes Jonas, One Master Teacher, or all those guys that have channels where it's strictly about passport life. And now you see, you go over to those countries and again, the entry-level average salary for one of those PricewaterhouseCoopers employees is like 52K. So immediately you're in the top 1% in places like Thailand, Rio, Colombia, some of these cities in Mexico, automatically. As soon as you take one of these PricewaterhouseCoopers jobs, you're in the top 1% wherever you go. So I think that if there is a silver lining in this whole April Mason scandal and saga, is that you black men now must burst through the dam and tear down this wall of dick policing. The era of dick policing is over. It's over. So you have guys talking about it, but it's pretty much a done deal now. Those guys can go save, reform, and invest in the so-called the community. But for the socially mobile black man, 2022 and beyond, it's time to make moves around the globe. There's plenty of remote opportunity out there, and there's plenty of women who agree with April Mason in other places on the globe that would love to have a man like you in their life. So with that, you guys all have a good Sunday, and we'll chop it up next time. Peace.